Hi, good morning. My name's Aaron Lowe. I'm with the Oahu Division of Forestry and Wildlife. I'm really excited to be here today. This is a really great opportunity for our program. I'm part of the Division of Forestry and Wildlife, which is under the Department of Land and Natural Resources. Basically, there's one of me on each island. I'm the trail specialist for Oahu. There's one on each island. I'm in charge basically of all the forestry trails on the island of Oahu. And I have a very small staff of two. And so we basically have a lot of stuff to do on a regular basis to keep our trails safe and keep all of our visitors happy on our trails and having them have the opportunity to connect with nature. So basically today, what we're going to talk about is our challenge is having to do with how can we better manage the amount of use that we have on our trails. So right now, a little bit about our capacity. One thing that's interesting about the Nalahili Trail Program is we're actually the only really recognized trail program in the state. So anything to do with the trail at all usually comes to my attention or to our program. So if any trail at a cul-de-sac or a ridge line, any type of trail out there issue, we usually get involved in. And we also manage about 41 roads and trails for everyday public use. So then statewide, it's documented, and it's probably more than this, over 2,000 miles of trails and roads are out there, potentially for us to manage. This is what's been documented. That's linear features that are out there that can be managed, but we only manage about 733 miles of all of that. And we'd like to manage more, but it's challenging with the limited amount of resources that we have. So how can we do what we do with the limited resources? And the great thing is I think being able to use technology to help us with our management is obviously something that is important to us and we're looking at. So one thing that obviously it's no secret anymore, especially since during the pandemic, an interesting thing that we learned was that a lot of people, one of the only things you could do was go hiking and you could go enjoy our ocean resources. So we found that a lot of, we didn't have any visitors because that was cut off. So a lot of our local residents really enjoyed going out and hiking, and we saw a real increase in local residents hiking, and that's kind of was a blessing in disguise. I think is we got a chance to really see our trails and our forest reserves from being a local resident here. I think it got people out of the house and got them doing more hiking. Then when we opened our doors back to tourism, we were a little overwhelmed by the amount of people who came back to the islands to recreate and use our trails, to a point where we started to see an extremely increase in a lot of use on some of our more popular trails like Manoa Falls Trail, for example, or our Kuli'o'o Trail. So one thing that really stuck out, and we saw this, this is no new news, is a lot of different kinds of attitudes out there. People being really disrespectful and not really appreciating a lot of what our natural resources have and how to protect them and to leave no trace. And you're going to see another presentation coming up about Pono Points, and that focuses more on behavioral change. What I'm proposing today is more of a different type of management thing. It has to do more with the trails themselves and the traffic that are on the trails. Is there some way we can use technology to spread the traffic out on trails or spread that use out? Because studies have been done saying that if you have more trails that are out there and people are able to have more opportunities, then there's less impact on individual trails. So what we're finding is, with the current conditions, is residents and tourists find out about features and go as they please. Social media only amplifies this. And, also it makes popular of unsanctioned areas. Those are places that people go to now too because of the internet. Communities complain and to agencies and elected officials. So we're seeing some of our trails actually almost be closed off because of so much use that the community is really affected by it. Haiku Stairs, Monowilly Falls. I think we're going to be able to open Monowilly Falls, but they've had a lot of issues in that community. And agencies like us struggle. We want to help out the community, and we want to also continue to allow people to enjoy themselves out in nature and connect with nature. So it's a challenge for us. So what we currently do is we have a website. We also have a new app called Outer Spatial, and people get to kind of self-select the locations and the places that they want to visit. And so part of the problem is, here's the problem and also potential solution. High use to recreational features leads to crowding, resource damage, community conflict. DLNR would like to encourage voluntary use of alternative recreational features and or use different times of days of the week and spread the impact and reduce the conflict. So how do we do that? So, it's kind of a two-edged sword with technology. Technology is telling people where to go and all these great, beautiful secret places and go for it and enjoy yourself. So let's use maybe technology in a way that could really maybe help displace or move that use to other places. So Art, I was unable to kind of finish this concept here, but this is a screenshot of our Outer Spatial app currently. And I wasn't really able to finish the legend in time here for the presentation. I apologize. But what we have here is, let's say we developed an app that was similar to Google. And we all are familiar, or I would assume a lot of us are familiar, with using Google for driving, right? So to get from one location to another. So what we realize, right, is when you're driving, you see red areas are places where there's traffic. Yellow, it's where it's not that bad of traffic, or orange maybe. And green is where, it's actually no traffic at all. So what we're proposing is how can we develop an app that might be able to tell us which trails are busy at what times? That way, if it's a busy trail, I have the decision to go maybe on a less busy trail. And by doing so, now we're dispersing that use. And the example I provide here, sorry I wasn't able to finish my legend, but I'll be able to explain it, is the red trail. The red trail on the right side over here, that red line. I think maybe I have my mouse here, this one. That would be Manoa Falls Trail. Well, that's probably going to be red most of the day because we know that's a very popular trail. But let's say you wanted to go on another trail that wasn't so busy. And we have our Kalawahine Trail here, which is green, which has nobody on it or very little people on it. So that might be an alternative that some people would want, so to avoid having a real busy or crowded trail experience. What we're proposing here is, how can we make an app that does that, or add this to our existing app that has that? And we do have exposure to, I don't think I put it on here. We have access to Uber Media. It's a company that is able to access cell phone data. So we have access to that data, and we could use that. It gets translated into an app. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how that's done, but I'm sure it can be done, where you take that cell phone data, translate it, and be able to basically interpret what use of those phones are on these trails. So in other words, by using that data, you're able to figure out how many people are on it, translate that into a color that overlays onto the trail and tells us how busy it is. If we were able to achieve this or figure this out, it would be fantastic. I think it would be a great tool. I think it's very innovative. I think it's also, I think there's something very intriguing about it for users. I think they'd be interested in seeing what the real-time use is on trails. And of course, we could use that data later also, or we are currently using some of the Uber data to understand how much use some of our trails are getting. So basically, in a kukui shell, that's what our what our challenge is we'd like to see an app or an attachment to our app that shows this type of traffic on trails. And as an extra credit, if we were able to add a donation element to this app so that we can receive donations to help support our program. We're limited budget, limited staff. I know that there's people out there who would really like to donate to see the trails get further improvements. If we were able to add that to this in some way, that would be an extra credit. So basically, not sure how much time I have left, but that was our challenge, what I wanted to propose. I think that would help our trail program out a whole lot. And basically that's all we have today for this challenge. And I'm real happy to be here, be a part of this, and I'm excited to see if someone takes this on. I'm really happy to be working with a group that would help us put this forward. Thank you.